What? Why? Really? Because it is. That's irritating. Why did it force me to do that? Oh well, no matter. No matter! Eh, no one's here anyway, so that's okay. While I fart ass around with this here screeny thing. That is annoying though, because I was really hoping that you'd get to see, the screen and all that sort of stuff. Hey Justin, how you doing? Oh good, people can see it then. Excellent. I wasn't sure that it was going to work. It's been a while since I've done this sort of thing. This is actually the first proper one on YouTube that I have done since we got to Japan. So today we're going to be recording a little bit of chapter 3 of Dracula. Blah, blah. Hi ABC Monster, how you doing? If you have any questions about what I'm doing or anything like that, feel free to jump on in. That's absolutely fine with me. I am not quite as well organized as I hoped I would be. I don't have my documents up yet. That's all right. We'll get into it. There you go. All right, so this is the first. I should point out, with the longer ones, Tiny Chev, greetings from Adelaide. Holy crap, back in the hometown. How you doing, mate? I hope you're not too stinking hot. I think it's pretty warm down there at the moment. With a really long book like Dracula, keeping your voices solid, man, it can be really hard. Like I have already messed up in the recording of this book like more than once. I've had to go back and re-record chapter 2 twice because I messed up the voices. So I recommend the technique that I now use several books down the line. Very excited to see the process, man. I feel very silly. It just disappeared. Why did you disappear? Stupid YouTube. Feel very silly sitting down to record Leslie's room. There you go. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's good. It's good to sit down and record things. C3B, C3A, there we go. Okay, so I learned a very important lesson back when I was doing Brave New World because, and you can go check this yourself if you want, I messed up John the Native's voice so badly. If you go back and listen to it now and pay attention, you'll hear that John, when he first appears in the book, is completely different to how he sounds by the end of the book because I messed it up really, really, really badly. So now what I do is, firstly, I keep a sample of all the characters that I've recorded. Like here's a few lines read by Jonathan Harker, a few lines read by Count Dracula, a few lines by Jonathan Harker's boss, right? So that I can go back and reference them later. And also, I will do what you can't see here because YouTube insisted that I turn my phone up that way. But here we go. I'll grab the little tablet now. I split up everybody's lines into separate documents. You can't see that anyway, can you? No, you can't. All right, that's fine. I record on a tablet, incidentally, because it has a solid state hard drive and doesn't make any noise. It's got no fans or anything like that. So all good. Let's just kill this light. That might help a bit. There we go. It's a little bit more intimate, isn't it? So I've got chapter 3 all split up. It's only got 2 characters, Jonathan Harker and Dracula, so I've got them into separate documents. We're ready to record on Audacity, free software, which is really, really good. It has no right to be this good, seeing as it's free, but it is, so, use it. It's awesome. I'm actually going to try and start editing on this as well, which I haven't done before, but apparently it's quite good. And the software that I bought keeps messing up on me, so let's see if Audacity does the job. Okay, what are some things that I noticed in the recent reading competition, right? A lot of the people that were sending in One of the things that I really noticed was some of them were insufficiently hydrated. Drink a lot of water all day. It's no good just throwing down half a litre just before you start recording. You have to drink water all day so that your mouth doesn't click between every movement of your tongue and lips, etc. Okay? So I'm just going to have a little sip of water. Excuse me a moment. My glass bottle of water, because my editor told me that he could hear the steel one that I used to have in my little recording booth here. Amazing, hey? But glass does not reverberate. No cold water, quite right. Room temperature water. This one stays in here all the time and never sees a fridge. Okay, we're going to start. Should we start with Jonathan Harker or Count Dracula? Who would you like to hear more? Oops. Oh, the water bottle fell over. I'm glad we hadn't started yet. That camera's slipping a bit, isn't it? You're going to be seeing weird stuff if that keeps going. Hold on. That'll screw things. See if I can move you. No, I can't move you enough to see the screen, which is annoying. I'm sorry about that. I'll see if I can find a better spot if we do this again in future. Anyway, okay, so I've already listened to the voices this morning. I think I'm feeling a little more Count Dracula than Jonathan Harker at the moment. Anyone will do, let her rip. Quite right. Last tip before we start, and this is quite a boring one, but you have to do it. Leave 20 seconds of silent recording at the start of your files. This makes it much easier to remove background noise later on when you're editing. So we're going to have 20 very exciting seconds of absolute silence. We Selkis have a right to be proud, for in our veins flows the blood of many brave races who fought as the lion fights for lordship. Here in the whirlpool of European races, the Ugric tribe bore down from Iceland the fighting spirit which Thor and Woden gave them, which their berserkers displayed to such fell intent on the seaboards of Europe, aye, and on Asia and Africa too, till the people thought that the werewolves themselves had come. Here too, when they came, they found the Huns, whose warlike fury had swept the earth like a living flame, till the dying peoples held that in their veins ran the blood of those old witches, who, expelled from Scythia, had mated with the devils in the desert. Fools, fools! What devil or what witch was ever so great as Attila, whose blood is in these veins? Is it a wonder that we were a conquering race, that we were proud, that when the Magyar, the Lombard, the Avar, the Bulgar, or the Turk poured his thousands on our frontiers, we drove them back? Is it strange that when Arpad and his legions swept through the Hungarian fatherland, he found us here when he reached the frontier, that the Honfoglalas? What the heck is a Honfoglalas? Honfoglalas. Let's look that one up. There's quite a lot of like old European tribe names and whatnot. Honfoglalas. And I do like to look them up to try and get the pronunciation right. Honfoglalas. Honfoglalas. The Hungarian conquest of the Carpathian Basin, also known as the Hungarian Conquest or the Hungarian Land-Taking, was a series of historical events ending with the settlements of the Hungarians in Central Europe in late 9th and early 10th century. Great. How do we pronounce their names? Pronounce. Never be afraid to look stuff up. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Find out. Oh dear. How to pronounce it in Hungarian? Yeah, that looks like the best option, is it? Oh boy, yep. This is going to be tricky. Hungarian is a bastard of a language. It is hard. If you don't know it, if you don't speak it already, it is difficult. You're not going to be able to hear this, I'm afraid. How to pronounce it? Honfoglash. Honfoglash. Okay. Honfoglash. There you go. I definitely would have gotten that wrong if I hadn't looked it up. Okay. So, go back to the start of that sentence. Okay. Is it strange that when Arpad and his legions swept through the Hungarian fatherland, he found us here when he reached the frontier, that the Honfoglash was completed there? And when the Hungarian flood swept eastward, the Selkis were claimed as kindred by the victorious Magyars, and to us for centuries was trusted the guarding of the frontier of Turkeyland. Aye, and more than that, endless duty of the frontier guard. For as the Turks say, water sleeps, and the enemy is sleepless. Who more gladly than we throughout the four nations received the bloody sword, or at its warlike call flocked quicker to the standard of the king? When was redeemed the great shame of my nation, the shame of Kaszova, when the flags of the Wallach and the Magyar went down beneath the crescent? Who was it but one of my own race, who, as voivode, crossed the Danube and beat the Turk on his own ground? This was a Dracula indeed. Woe was it that his own unworthy brother, when he had fallen, sold his people to the Turk and brought the shame of slavery on them. Was it not this Dracula indeed who Was it not this Dracula indeed who inspired that other of his race, who in a later age again and again brought his forces over the great river into Turkeyland, who, when he was beaten back, came again and again, though he had to come alone from the bloody field where his troops were being slaughtered, since he knew that he alone could ultimately triumph? They said that he thought only of himself. Bah! What good are peasants without a leader? Where ends the war without a brain and heart to conduct it? Again, when after the Battle of Mohawks we threw off the Hungarian yoke, we of the Dracula blood were amongst their leaders, for our spirit would not brook that we were not free. Ah, young sir, the Selkis and the Dracula as their... I have Jonathan Harker and Count Dracula pronounce the name Dracula differently because Dracula is more accurate for the region. But of course, the English didn't care about that, did they? They just called you what they wanted to call you. They called your country what they wanted to call it. Ah, it's called Deutschland, is it? Well, we're going to call it Germany. So, you know, that sort of thing. So, Count Dracula says Dracula, which is right, and Jonathan Harker says Dracula because he doesn't care. All right. So, that's why I keep correcting myself when I get it wrong. Again, when after the Battle of Mohawks we threw off the Hungarian yoke, we of the Dracula blood were amongst their leaders, for our spirit would not brook that we were not free. Ah, young sir, the Selkis and the Dracula, as their heart's blood, their brains, and their swords, can boast a record that mushroom growths like the Habsburg and the Romanovs can never reach. The warlike days are over. Blood is too precious a thing in these days of dishonorable peace, and the glories of the great races are as a tale that is told. He gets a bit excited about the old battles. He likes them. He likes them. I shall illustrate. Your friend and mine, Mr. Peter Hawkins, from under the shadow of your beautiful cathedral at Exeter, which is far from London, buys for me through your good self my place at London. Good. Now, here let me say frankly, lest you should think it strange that I have sought the services of one so far off from London instead of someone resident there, that my motive was that no local interest might be served save my wish only. And as one of London residents might perhaps have some purpose of himself or friend to serve, I went thus afield to seek my agent, whose labors should be only of my interest. Now, suppose I, who have much of affairs, wish to ship goods, say, to Newcastle, or Durham, or Harwich, or Dover, might it not be that it could be... Might it not be that it could with more ease be done by consigning to one in these ports? I'm going to do that one again. I'm not happy with it. Might it not be that it could be done with more ease? Errors. Might it not be that it could with more ease be done by consigning to one in these ports? Now we've got some smaller lines. But I could be at liberty to direct myself, is it not so? Good. Have you written since your first letter to our friend Mr. Peter Hawkins, or to any other? Then write now, my young friend. Write to our friend and to any other, and say, if it will please you, that you will stay with me until a month from now. I desire it much, nay, I will take no refusal. When your master, employer, what you will, engaged that someone should come on his behalf, it was understood that my needs only were to be consulted. I have not stinted, is it not so? I pray you, my good young friend, that you will not discourse of things other than business in your letters. It will doubtless please your friends to know that you are well, and that you look forward to getting home to them. Is it not so? I trust you will forgive me, but I have much work to do in private this evening. You will, I hope, find all things as you wish. Let me advise you, my dear young friend, nay, let me warn you, with all seriousness, that should you leave these rooms, you will not by any chance go to sleep in any other part of the castle. It is old and has many memories, and there are bad dreams for those who sleep unwisely. Be warned. Should sleep now or ever overcome you, or be like to do, then haste to your own chamber or to these rooms, for your rest will then be safe. But if you be not careful in this respect, then... Okay. Sudden change in gear. It's not far. A couple of little speeches. First, we have to do like a roar of fury. I might leave that till after these, actually. We'll come back and do that, because it tends to cost on the old throat. You must always be aware of how much things cost you in your throat. I remember doing a film once where, like, I was living with the family in a cave, right? And I came back and found that my wife had been slaughtered while I was out hunting, and the director wanted me to scream rage at the landscape, and I had to say to him, okay, but let's do that last, and you're probably only going to get one shot at recording it, so make sure your sound guys are good. And I was right. I did a full-on throaty scream out there and then couldn't speak for a week because these things cost. They cost your voice. Excuse me, I'm going to get more water. I have to go down here. Let's have a look at the chat, which it doesn't leave up. What's it doing? Come on now. Stupid YouTube. I hate this thing. I hate doing it on my phone. It's really hard, but I can't have a laptop in here because it makes too much noise. Cooling fans and things like that. They are the bane of clean recording. No, it's not showing many chats. I'm sorry. Chat hidden, live chat. Hello, chat. No, it's not showing many chats. I did see before that there were some, but they've faded out. So I'm sorry, I can't see what you've been saying. My bad. Oh, I know. If one of you chats something now, then it will show up the list and I'll be able to read some of what you've been saying before. But hold off a second, all right? We'll record these last two bits. Then we'll do Dracula's Fury. I don't know if you remember this scene, but Jonathan Test, there you go, and that's all I can see is just tested writing test. Oh my God, refresh, yes, it's, there you go, some showing up, no cold water, that's right. The sound of silence, 20 seconds and stay hydrated, got it, yes, very important. Damn, I got chills, they're multiplying. Sorry. Tata for now, Master Lightweave. Holy shit, someone knows me there from the old World of Warcraft days. Crazy. Man, it's like Napoleon from Animal Farm, but with war fatigue. Yeah, true. Hello from Canada, says Harrison. Oh, how you doing? We're on a similar line, right? You should be semi-cold out that way too, probably getting to the end of winter. Happy Mess, hello, Hidden Manor, 3 vampires, lovely. Test, refresh, hey, says Eric. Harrison MacArthur, well, the last time I said hello to you on one of your live streams, I believe I mentioned that I was in the middle of publishing my first book. I can now say with pride, I'm now a published author. Well done. Well done. That is a difficult thing to do. Oh, my gosh. Alice, my lovely wife, and I write every Sunday, and we barely manage short stories. Happy Mess, you should submit samples of your talents to Netflix, Sony, Disney, somebody. My favorite reading of yours in 1984, especially the song about Under the Spreading Chestnut Tree. Yeah, sometimes the muses are good, you know, they are good to you, and something beautiful comes. I was very lucky one of those days. Yeah, congratulations on publishing. Quite right, quite right. Okay, back to Dracula before I lose his voice. Okay. All right, so I don't know if you remember this scene, but the lady vampires have discovered Jonathan Harker, the idiot who has just gone to sleep in a spinneret, despite the warning that he has just heard. He goes to sleep off in a random, just a random room. Hey man, watching from Uruguay, love your work. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was lovely. I know it shows how old I am, but I still love hearing all the different nations that people are watching from. It's great. Even though it's like this is a global audience now and a global platform, so it's not as special as it was when I was young, but I still love it because I'm old and I like these things. Yes. All right. Yeah, Jonathan Harker went to sleep in a random part of the castle, and the sexy lady vampires have come up and gone, oh, we're going to drink a bit of that. I wouldn't mind some English blood, you know. And they sound exactly like that in the book. That's how I'm going to record them. Dracula shows up just as they're about to start drinking, and he is a little bit angry. He's a little bit angry that some other creature would take, you know, his Harker, his slave, you know, whatever. All right, so he's a very angry man. How dare you touch him, any of you? How dare you cast eyes on him when I had forbidden it? Back, I tell you all, this man belongs to me. Beware how you meddle with him, or you'll have to deal with me. Yes, I too can love. You yourselves can tell it from the past, is it not so? Well, now I promise you that when I am done with him, you shall kiss him at your will. Now, go. Go! I must awaken him, for there is work to be done. He does sound a bit Napoleon, doesn't he? I didn't really make that link. It is. I looked up like Transylvania before I started. It is the first in a series I'm currently writing. Gosh, a series. That's brave. That is very brave. Yeah, I looked up Transylvania, and it's in a really weird spot. It's in between, like, Germany and Turkey and the old Slavic states, and just surrounded. It's an absolute mishmash of different bloodlines and societies and whatnot. So the accent is a real mess, So I sort of decided, leaning towards Russian, but with some strange inflections. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, now we have to do a roar. Not only do we have to be careful of our throat when we're recording this roar, but we also have to watch the clipping of the recorded file. Do you know what clipping is? There's a maximum volume that you can record. There's like a maximum and a minimum, okay? Even with the best mics in the world, there's, maximum and minimum. If you go too quiet, you're going to hear way too much background noise, a lot of hissing and whatnot. If you go too loud, it will distort, and just sound horrible. So I might have to do a few roars showing Dracula's rage to make sure it doesn't clip. Not that it would matter too much. Okay. So he's come up. Oh, man, I just want to explode on the mic. That's my acting style, is very, maximum, minimum. It really is. I'm a theater guy. I live with my heart on my sleeve. My emotions are big and loud. Even in real life. There's no difference between me performing and me just walking around the streets. I'm the same guy, Okay, so that volume where I was just speaking there, that's really close to maximum. So that's about as loud as I can get. So here we go. Rage. Oh, too much. Way too much. Way too much. You can see that's just a big blue square of recording there. All right, no, I'll have to play with that later, because that's going to be really quite hard, and I'm going to tear my voice apart trying to do that. And we still have quite a lot of Jonathan Harker to record. All right, now I'm going to pull up. Oh gosh, it gets so hot in this little booth. It really does. I am going to listen to, if we can find it, my sample. There we go. Wait. Got it saved on the old Google Drive so I can access it on multiple systems, multiple computers and whatnot. Here we go. JonathanHarker.wav. I'm pretty sure he's up here, but you have to make sure that you get it right. I think it's like 8th of March, Privets. I was traveling through the block. Oh God, that's so loud. Ow, 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 my ears. Ah. Too loud. I just blasted my head off. Budapest. Seems a wonderful place. There you go. Yes, I was right. That is Jonathan Harker right there. Okay. So let's see how much of this we get through. The first 4 chapters are, of course, Jonathan Harker's journal. So, yeah, it's quite difficult. Yay, nice. How fun. I started writing when I was 18, and I'm going to be 30 this September. My goodness, what monster have I created? Yeah, well, there you go. I started when I was about the same age, but I rapidly decided my writing was crap, so I stopped. I actually burnt my first novel attempt halfway through because it was so bad and derivative. It just sounded like every book that I'd read over the last 20 years. Or 18, or whatever. Well, 13. I didn't come out of the womb reading. It took a few years to learn how it was done. Anyway, Joellen Bonilla. Sounds great, like an old Italian name or something. It's not, clearly, but it sounds like one. And then your message just disappeared. Oh, I really hate this phone version of the app. Love listening to your audiobooks. It's always like you research your roles to get the voices just right in order to do the story justice. Can't wait to see what you have next. I do indeed. And you must suffer for your art. Yes, you must. When I went to acting school, you have no idea how many people were in there just thinking it was going to be a great fun time with happy parties and people telling you how great you were all the time. And it's not. It's hard work. It's very hard work. And you do have to suffer. In fact, for anyone looking at acting, I'll say the most important thing, get used to being humiliated. Humiliated and rejected. They're the two big things that are going to happen in your career. All right, so on with Jonathan Harker. I have to be very careful with Jonathan Harker's voice because it's awfully close to this one here, and also to this one here, who is just an evil fellow. He's much more up the front, a bit more nasal. Chapter 3, Jonathan Harker's journal continued. That's him. That's the fellow. Also, I've been recording that whole time, haven't I? Yes, I have. All right, I'm good. Sorry. Go back and export that file, because that is Dracula's lines. Dracula C3 master file. There we go. And it'll take a little while to export because this is just a tablet. It's not amazingly powerful. It's the Surface Go Pro or something like that. It's a few years old now, but it's a good little machine. It does the job well. I got it specifically for this. Actually, I got it so that I could walk around with it in my backpack just carrying a microphone and record sounds, you know. At the time, I think I needed restaurant sounds, and I couldn't find any good ones. Sound effects are really difficult to find, by the way. Good ones. Quite often they're crap. Even on paid sites, unless you're paying for top-tier sound effects, and my God, they're expensive. So when do you think this version of Dracula will be coming onto YouTube? Next year. Yeah, I've given myself a lot of time for this one. For those of you who don't know, I've recently hired an editor, Maciej, who lives in Poland. He's a young fellow still going through school, so I got him on the cheap until he, you know, finishes his training and starts charging $700 an hour. But for the moment, I can put him to work pretty cheaply, and he's quite good. I was very, very lucky. And he has edited many of the books that you'll be hearing this year. And I did that so that I could get them out really, really quickly, far more quickly than I could do it. He's a much better editor than I am. I'm very, very, very slow, self-taught, and I do everything manually, and he does a lot of automatic stuff because he knows what he's doing. I did that, and I have already filled this year with content, right? It's all ready to go. 2023 is complete. We finished it just last week, I think. So I've got the rest of the year to work on Dracula, and then it will come out next year. So this year we've got Jekyll and Hyde, which is about halfway through, I think, a little over halfway. Then we've got Sherlock Holmes. Then we've got The Time Machine. Then we've got another Sherlock Holmes. There's a lot of Sherlock Holmes in the world. And then, hopefully, if it's finished, Dracula. actors, man, they're really hard to wrangle. It really is like herding cats. I'm currently waiting for lines from an actress so that I can finish chapter 1 of Dracula. As you can see, I'm already recording chapter 3 and I haven't finished editing chapter 1 because actors are very unreliable. I should know, I am one. Yay! All right, so Jonathan Harker. Jonathan Harker. Here we go. Where is it? 8th of June, Klebitz. There he is. He's up the front there. Another 20 seconds of silence. If you think I'm a bit of an idiot, pity my poor wife. She has to live with this all day, every day. Yeah. When I need sound effects, I usually just rip them straight off YouTube with an MP3 converter. Be careful. Be careful. Just because they say these are free, non-commercial sound effects doesn't mean they are. Quite often people just steal shit and put it on their own channel. Do you think you'll ever record scenes from The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit? I would love to, but that won't be in public domain for a very, very, very long time, probably decades after I'm dead. I think that was 60s, 70s, or something like that. So it'll be another 50 years or so before that's in public domain. Not saying you do the whole book, just certain parts. I mean, I'd love to do the whole thing. You know, Lord of the Rings, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There's lots of books that I would love to do that I just can't, mostly because of Disney, who are assholes. They have completely ruined copyright law for everyone else in the world because they didn't want to give up their ownership of Mickey Mouse. So they warped American copyright law, and most of the world follows that, of course. Use the baying dogs again from chapter 12 of Animal Farm. I probably will. I probably will. Do you have this full time or do you have a real job? This is my job. This is my job. It doesn't pay very well, but it's my job, yes. My wife is a teacher, and I do this all day, every day. So I love my work. I do. I love it. Don't let me give you the impression that I don't. Hey, Steve, sorry to get you here. The next script for the competition hasn't gone out yet, right? No, it hasn't. No, not yet. I have to write it yet. I have to think of all the things that I need you people to be able to do, and then write a script that has all those things in it. And then give individual notes for all the people that entered, because you all, need to work on different things. And then, then I'll send it out. So it'll probably be a week or two, I would say. Your studio is beautiful. It's giving UFO and Christmas vibes. Excellent creativity. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. The actual booth is very, very hot. I'm sweating a lot in here. But it's excellent. It's really good. It should be. It cost me like $1,000. Yeah, but I couldn't get any good recording space once we came to Japan. There was just nowhere any good. Why do you use wolf howling for 9 dogs in Animal Farm? Please do George's Wild Animal Kingdom. I don't know. The sound effects just sounded right, so I used it. George's Animal Kingdom, I don't actually know. I'll look into that. What about Conan the Barbarian by Howard? What about recording those books? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Oh, I've come to cut off your heads. That'd be great. I'd love that. I think they were 70s as well, though, so they're going to be quite a while before they're in public domain. Anyway, stop distracting me. I'm trying to record Jonathan Harker. Okay, here we go. Oh, 8th of June, Kibitz. Jonathan Harker. I am extremely uptight. Yes, here we go. I'm a solicitor from London in the 1800s. Then there. Okay. 1930s, really, so very close. Next few years. Yeah. I think we're in 1927 at the moment, technically. That's where it's legal worldwide. They're probably already public domain in Australia, but not in America. And I have to be very careful nowadays. Man, I had to fight to keep 1984 up. I don't know how many of you folks are new and how many were there at the time, but God damn, 1984 has been a fight. I've had to fight hard to keep that up. Yeah, said the actress to the bishop. That was terrible, Steve. Stop it. All right. I made myself laugh. All right. Okay, here we go. Here the March Gibbets. Hello. Chapter 3. Jonathan Harker's Journal continued. When I found that I was a prisoner, a sort of wild feeling came over me. I rushed up and down the stairs, trying every door and peering out of every window I could find, but after a little, the conviction of my helplessness overpowered all other feelings. When I look back after a few hours, I think I must have been mad for the time, for I behaved much as a rat does in a trap. When, however, the conviction had come to me that I was helpless, I sat down quietly, as quietly as I have ever done anything in my life, and began to think over what was best to be done. I am thinking still, and as yet have come to no definite conclusion. Of one thing only I am certain, that it is no use making my ideas known to the Count. He knows well that I am imprisoned, as he has done it himself. He knows well that I am imprisoned, and as he has done it himself, and has doubtless his own motives for it. He would only deceive me if I trusted him fully with the facts. So far as I can see, my only plan will be to keep my knowledge and my fears to myself, and my eyes open. I am, I know, either being deceived like a baby by my own fears, or else I am in desperate straits. And if the latter be so, I need, and shall need, all my brains to get through. I had hardly come to this conclusion when I heard the great door below shut, and knew the Count had returned. He did not come at once into the library, so I went cautiously to my own room and found him making the bed. This was odd, but only confirmed what I had all along thought, that there were no servants that there are no servants in the house. When later I saw him through the chink of the hinges of the door laying the table in the dining room, I was assured of it. For if he does himself all these menial offices, surely it is proof that there is no one else in the castle. It must have been the Count himself who was the driver of the coach that brought me here. This is a terrible thought, for if so, what does it mean that he could control the wolves as he did by only holding up his hand for silence? How was it that all the people at Bistritz and on the coach had some terrible fear for me? What meant the giving of the crucifix, of the garlic, of the wild rose, of the mountain ash? Bless that good woman who hung the crucifix round my neck, for it is a comfort and a strength to me whenever I touch it. It is odd that a thing which I have been taught to regard with disfavour and as idolatrous should, in a time of loneliness and trouble, be of help. Is it that there is something in the essence of the thing itself, or that it is a medium, a tangible help, in conveying memories of sympathy and comfort? Some time, if it may be, I must examine this matter and try to make up my mind about it. In the meantime, I must find out all I can about Count Dracula, as it may help me to understand. Tonight he may talk of himself if I turn the conversation that way. I must be very careful, however, not to awake his suspicion. Midnight. I have had a long talk with the Count. I asked him a few questions on Transylvania history, and he warmed up to the subject wonderfully. In his speaking of things and people, and especially of battles, he spoke as if he had been present at them all. This he afterwards explained by saying that to a boyar the pride of his house and name is his own pride, that their glory is his glory, that their fate is his fate. Whenever he spoke of his house, he always said we, and spoke almost in the plural, like a king speaking. I wish I could put down all he said exactly as he said it, for to me it was most fascinating. It seemed to have in it a whole history of the country. He grew excited as he spoke and walked about the room, pulling his great white moustache and grasping anything on which he laid his hands as though he would crush it by main strength. One thing he said, which I shall put down as nearly as I can, for it tells in its way the story of his race. And there was the first Dracula speech that we recorded earlier. Thor and Woden and the battles, the Magyar and the blah blah blah, the brain, he ran away from the battle, but it was fine because he had to lead his soldiers again in future. So they can all die because they're peasant scum, but he has to live to rule them, otherwise who would rule them? One of the great difficulties in recording these old books is just the arrogance of the ruling class in the old days. They just absolutely assumed the rightness of their actions and their survival and the dispensability of all the peasant classes. It's really, really bad. Anyway. It was by this time close on morning, and we went to bed. Memorandum. This diary seems horribly like the beginning of the Arabian Nights, for everything has to break off at cockcrow, or like the ghost of Hamlet's father. Chapter 1, George's Wild Animal Kingdom with zebras, giraffes, and Domino the red-crowed crane. I'm glad everything worked out, though. That being said, I didn't mind the red, dead streams while we were waiting. Yeah, we'll get back to that. We have the whole reason I'm doing this stream is because we've upgraded our internet connection, so we should be able to get back to gaming soon and do some more of that. 1984 as well, I discovered your channel. Splendid, glad you enjoyed it. Long live the king! We've got a king now. It's so weird. I've had a queen for my whole life, and now we've got a king. It blows my mind. I'm still not used to it. Anyway. Next one. 12th of May. Did my voice crack then? It did, didn't it? I should get some more water. Love your reading skills. I'm sorry I can't donate. That's all right. Don't worry about it. The ads pay for my time. Everything else is extra. Simba, the Lion King, had finally found his place in the circle of life. Oh, George's Wild Animal Kingdom. Oh, okay. There you go. I also had a queen for my whole life, and now I have a king. It is strange. It is, isn't it? It is. Ugh, it's just so odd. It's so hot in here. We've been going for 50 minutes, which is a lot longer than I normally record. I recently listened to your 1984. It was incredible. Thank you. Thank you. I do feel a bit like Tenacious D, though, where like one of my early works was probably the best one that I'll ever do. And I'm sort of chasing that now forever, hoping that eventually I'll do something as good as 1984 again. Oh, well, there you go. It's good. I'm glad it's there. You're a master of your craft. I wish there are people that are much better than me. And I hate them all. I don't. I love them. I listen to them all the time. Okay, here we go. "12th of May. Let me begin with facts, bare, meagre facts, verified by books and figures, and of which there can be no doubt. I must not confuse them with experiences, which will have to rest on my own observation, or my memory of them. Last evening, when the Count came from his room, he began by asking me questions on legal matters, and on the doing of certain kinds of business. I had spent the day wearily over books, and simply to keep my mind occupied, went over some of the matters I had been examined in at Lincoln's Inn. There was a certain method in the Count's inquiries, so I shall try to put them down in sequence. The knowledge may somehow or sometime be useful to me. First, he asked if a man in England might have 2 solicitors or more. I told him he might have a dozen if he wished, but that it would not be wise to have more than 1 solicitor engaged in one transaction, as only one could act at a time, and that to change would be certain to militate against his interests. He seemed thoroughly to understand and went on to ask if there would be any practical difficulty in having one man to attend, say, to banking and another to look after shipping, in case local help were needed in a place far from the home of the banking solicitor. I asked to explain more fully, so that I might not by any chance mislead him, so he said, the speech about the lawyers and the bankers that we recorded earlier. I answered that certainly it would be most easy, but that we solicitors had a system of agency, one for the other, so that local work could be done locally on instruction from any solicitor, so that the client, simply placing himself in the hands of one man, could have his wishes carried out by him without further trouble. Said he. It's one of the weirdest things you have to do when like Dracula had a line there, but I could be at liberty to direct myself, is it not so? Which we recorded earlier. But between but and I could be at liberty, Jonathan Harker said he. So you'll find little bits in my recordings where it's just in the middle of nowhere, just said he. I replied, and oh, actually, that's Harker saying all that. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Oh gosh, suddenly the policeman yelled wildly as he used his chariot with 2 horses to get rid of Winston. Kill our captor, Book 3, Chapter 8. Can't wait to see our king stamped on coins and such. Odd. Oh my God, I hadn't even thought of that. I don't have any new Australian currency. It's all Japanese, of course, now. This followed by a loud, terrible bang sound outside, and 900 enormous dogs that sound like wolves. Plus, they cannot bark like other dogs and join the policeman's army. I greatly enjoy Steve Parker's dramatic readings. Thank you, David. This sounds like Dracula. It is Dracula. It is indeed. Island of Dr. Moreau is my personal favorite. Don't know why, but I've listened to it quite a few times. That was the first one that I recorded at home, in my home studio, after I started on the Radio Adelaide Audiobook Club, which was the show that I ran myself in Radio Adelaide, a little community theatre. I'm just going to open up my little door here for a minute, get some fresh air in while I'm talking. And I enjoyed it so much, even though I had an audience of like 2 drunken truckers at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. It did not go well on the radio. But I enjoyed it so much that I bought my first microphone with my meager cash at the time and recorded The Island of Dr. Moreau. That was my first attempt at self-production. David, ain't it great? Storytelling is indeed a wonderful talent. I enjoy it so much. Thank you, Harrison MacArthur. The people and animals let out a thunderous blaring shout from excitement. Yes, California and the New World was theirs. Yay! Wait, you're in Japan? Yes, I am. Yes. We moved here about 4 months ago. My wife is teaching English at local schools. The Sherlock Holmes versus Dracula is a really fun audio drama. Oh my God, that would make a great midpoint, wouldn't it? That would be fun. Because I'm recording Sherlock Holmes, and Dracula is going to be the next book. I should do that in between the two, right? Or at some point on them. Anyway, that'll be fun. Running on the boat launch saying, "You can't have me!" Just makes me chuckle every time. Yeah, it's fun. Hi, Night Paper. How you doing? Did old Major dream of this dreadful place? Certainly not. All right. Okay, so back. Here we go. Oh, it's so hot in here. The really fancy ones that you can buy, little studio booths, have fans and stuff that you can blast and refresh the air and all that sort of thing. But they cost like $10,000 to $20,000. This one for $1,000 Australian is quite cheap. It's about 700 American, I think. I'm not sure in other currencies. I'm sorry. I'm quite bad at money. We are your fans, Steve. Thank you, David. Thank you. I don't like fans, though. I prefer friends, pals, comrades, listeners, audience. That's better. Fans is a bit extreme to me. I don't like to think of myself as having fans. I don't think I have fans, because that's like fanatical followers, right? The Beatles had fans. The Rolling Stones had fans. I have people that just like my work, I think. I loved your 1994. Well, in 1994, I'd been out of high school for a couple of years, and I was sort of bumming around the east coast of Australia. It was fun. I enjoyed it too. Oh, 1984. Yeah, no, that was good as well. Yeah, I I am this much of a knob all day, every day. Pity my wife, pity my wife. Well, you might have a dragon living in a flat under here. That might be the reason for the heat. It's possible. Get off his tail and get back to work. Yes, bloody dragon. Go and fly around to hoard me some gold or something in a mountain and eat sheep. I don't know. Are they sheep in Japan? Not really. Not much. Anyway, I'm trying to work. Stop interrupting me. You're shocking people. You're lucky I don't do words off of what we've done at the farm, the animals, the zoo, and you change Animal Farm into Manor Farm. It's you who needs to get out of the farm now, Snowball. Yes, quite right, quite right. Bugger it. Let's talk about something else for a bit. Animal Farm, Brave New World, 1984. Here are my thoughts about the three. Animal Farm, very clearly Stalinist communism, right? I mean, that's obvious. That's absolutely what it's about. Brave New World, I think, is late-stage capitalism, because it's all about just pleasing the people into apathy, right? Just keeping them comfy, giving them everything they want. 1984, I think, is like extremist fascism, right? So it's very interesting, having done the three books, that they're all sort of three different forms of extremism. It's very interesting, very interesting. And I should stop talking about that because it tends to bring the loonies out from the woodwork and they natter on about all sorts of things. Will you be doing a dramatic reading of War and Peace? Oh my God, do you hate me that much? War and Peace? That would take like 20 years. It's so big. I keep having people asking me to do Dostoevsky and I'm like, why do you hate me? Why? What have I done to you? What is your favorite book? My favorite book changes all the time. I think the premier, the best book has got to be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I would love to do that series. It would be great, but Disney owns it, unfortunately. So there you go. Now, once dogs eating Mr. Pumpkin with Man and Napoleon, Snowball and Squeal and Notice, and they had all half smiles and half frowns on their faces. Yes. Hi, I'm a French student currently working on Huxley's Island. I'd absolutely love you reading A Brave New World. Ooh, gosh, that's tricky. Well done you. You're probably a bit cleverer than I am. Brave New World creeps me the out and I can't get through it. Yep, that makes sense. I bet you stop around chapter 3, right? Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes sense to me. Lol. Yes, War and Peace, all read in a Russian accent. Oh, God. You hate me. You do hate me. I can tell you hate me now. You're obviously just trying to hurt me. How about all the June books? All of them. All of them. I'd actually like that. I love the June books. Yeah, I love them. But again, owned by Disney, I think, now. Would you ever care to read my book? It's very expensive. You can have a look. Go on my website, steveparkeraudiobooks.com. Have a look under services, and you'll probably very quickly change your mind. It's not cheap, I'm afraid. George's Wild Animal Kingdom, the next one. Not sure. Yep, not for me. Lemau. What book was the most fun to record? Oh gosh. I think it's a toss-up between Treasure Island, which is awful. The quality is terrible because it was recorded in the Radio Adelaide studios using their terrible radio technology. But all the voices were awfully fun, young lad. Right? I liked that one a lot. And the other most fun one would probably be Alice in Wonderland. Because I did it as like a break from 1984 because that's so heavy and dark. I needed to do something light and fun. And also I got to pull in all my friends to read various parts. And then, I mean, the editing wasn't so much fun. That was pain, just pure pain, nonstop. But, recording it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was bloody expensive getting the darn thing published in the first place. Yes, quite right. It's not cheap, eh? Can you scar with the Russian accent for George's Wild Animal Kingdom? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Back to work. Oh, you're all... This is my kingdom, my destiny, in a Russian voice. Yes, there you go. Steve, do you find it very difficult to do female voices? Yes, I do. I actually started thinking it was impossible. But then I heard... I can't remember who it was. It was an English reader in the 70s doing... Isaac Asimov's short story collection, I, Robot. And he read Voices of a Little Girl just by dropping the bass from his voice. And I thought, oh my God, I'd never thought of that. So now that's basically what I do. I do prefer to pay female actors to perform female parts, but it's incredibly difficult because I don't have a lot of money, so I can't pay full rates. And actors are cats, and hurting them is incredibly difficult, and getting them to do what you want them to do at the time you want them to do it is almost impossible. So quite often I just end up going, bugger it, I'm going to do everything myself, and then I'll just read a female voice in as best I can, and it's not very good, but there you go. Can your wife voice act? No, she's a terrible actor. And finds it very difficult and uncomfortable to do. She doesn't like it. She was on stage with me once, back in the early days when I was doing a Terry Pratchett play, and she hated it, really, really hated it, really hated it. So, no, Carol can be pretty goddamn dark, absolutely. Off with their heads. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. More Russian lines. Stop it, I'm trying to work. God dash. All right, here we go. So a little bit more of Jonathan Harker. I don't know if this voice is solid anymore. I've been talking to you guys a lot. You'd be great at reading A Christmas Carol. Yes, we did The Night Before Christmas, read by Tim Williams, who played O'Brien in 1984. And that was fun. That was good. I just played Santa. Ho, 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 ho. But A Christmas Carol would be an interesting one. Yeah, for sure. It's been done to death, though. If you do a search, even on YouTube, for mostly illegal audiobooks stolen by people and slapped up on their own channels because no one really polices it, you'll find many, many, many copies. Many, many, many. Oh, God, it's so hot. Oh, it's so hot in here. I'm locked in a cage of my emotions. No, I'm not. All right. Sorry, I'm going to get some water. Oh, I've nearly drunk all my water already. I had a litre when we started, which is about a quarter of a gallon for those of you who prefer the old King's measurements of imperial whatnot. That's my water all gone. I'm going to die now. I'm going to dehydrate and die. Is that what you want? You want me to die for these audiobooks? No, I mean, obviously that's a bit far, but still. All right. Jonathan Harker, let's see how much of this we can get done. We're going to at least try and record this first half of chapter 3. We're a little over halfway there, so there we go. That Saki not fooling any of us. They're on to me. Damn! No, absolutely not. I do like Saki, though. Saki is lovely. So great. And no hangovers. If you get really good, really nice, high-quality sake, which is not that hard to get when you live in Japan, it's very clean. It's such a clean drink. Anyway, I'm going to make myself sound like an alco now, and I hardly drink at all. Although I did have a beer last night with dinner for the first time ever, actually. Yeah, it was nice. It stays hot in the room. It does. It does. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let me get back to work, you people. You people. Wag finger. All right. I'm going to have to change T-shirts after this. I'm so sweaty. Of course, I replied, and such is often done by men of business who do not like the whole of their affairs to be known by any one person. Good, he said, and then went on to ask about the means of making consignments and the forms to be gone through, and of all sorts of difficulties which might arise, but by forethought might be guarded against. I explained all these things to him to the best of my ability, and he certainly left me under the impression that he would have made a wonderful solicitor, for there was nothing that he did not think of or foresee. For a man who was never in the country, and who did not evidently do much in the way of business, his knowledge and acumen were wonderful. When he had satisfied himself on these points of which he had spoken, and I had verified all as well as I could by the books available, he suddenly stood up and said, a line we've recorded before, "Have you written since your first letter to our friend Mr. Peter Hawkins, or to any other?" It was with some bitterness in my heart that I answered that I had not, that as yet I had not seen any opportunity of sending letters to anybody. Then right now, my young friend, he said, laying a heavy hand on my shoulder. Right. Ah, he would like him to stay for a month. Do you wish me to stay so long? I asked, for my heart grew cold at the thought. I desire it much. You're hot, and I want you nearby. That's not in the book. That's not what he says. I'm getting exhausted and hot and turning silly. All right. I have not stinted. Is it not so? What could I do but bow acceptance? It was Mr. Hawkins' interest, not mine, that I had to think of him, not myself. And besides, while Count Dracula was speaking, there was that in his eyes and in his bearing which made me remember that I was a prisoner, and that if I wished it, I could have no choice. Again, odd language, archaic. And that if I wished it, I could have no choice. The Count saw his victory in my bow, and his mastery in the trouble on my face, for he began at once to use them, but in his own smooth, resistless way. Resistless, that's a good word, isn't it? I like that. You do come across very interesting sentence structures in these older books. Sometimes they're almost impossible to work out, though. Chapter 3 in Brave New World literally took me like a week, just that chapter, a week to work out who was saying what and when and how I was going to make that clear to the audience. Almost impossible. What a bastard of a chapter. You look forward to getting home to them, is that not so? As he spoke, he handed me 3 sheets of notepaper and 3 envelopes. They were all of the thinnest foreign post, and looking at them, then at him. Oh, what have I done? Ah, there we go. And looking at them, then at him, and noticing his quiet smile with the sharp canine teeth laying over the red underlip, I understood as well as if he had spoken that I should be more careful what I wrote, for he would be able to read it. So I determined to write only formal notes now, but to write fully to Mr. Hawkins in secret, and also to Mina, for to her I could write shorthand, which would puzzle the Count if he did see it. When I had written my 2 letters, I sat quiet, reading a book, whilst the Count wrote several notes, referring as he wrote them to some books on his table. Then he took up my 2 and placed them with his own, and put by his writing materials, after which, the instant the door had closed behind him, I leaned over and looked at the letters which were face down on the table. I felt no compunction in doing so, for under the circumstances I felt that I should protect myself in every way I could. One of the letters was directed to Samuel F. Billington, No. 7, The Crescent, Whitby, another to Herr Leutner, Varna. The third was to Coutts & Co., London, and the fourth to Heron, Klopstock and Billruth, bankers, Budapest. The second and fourth were unsealed. I was just about to look at them when I saw the door handle move. I sank back in my seat, having just had time to resume my book before the Count, holding still another letter in his hand, entered the room. He took up the letters on the table and stamped them carefully, and turning to me, said, a line we recorded before, I trust you will forgive me, but I have much work to do in private this evening. You will, I hope, find all things as you wish. At the door he turned, and after a moment's pause he said, Let me advise you, don't go to sleep anywhere else, you bloody idiot, or my hot lady vampire friends will eat you. He finished his speech in a gruesome way, for he motioned with his hands as if he were washing them. I quite understood. My only doubt was as to whether any dream could be more terrible than the unnatural, horrible net of gloom and mystery which seemed closing around me. Okay. There we go. So that's C3A. Harker master. Jolly good. Just exporting that file. It's so hot. Can you see? Oh, look at that. Look at my poor bald head all covered in little sweat drops. Yes, very hot. Very hot in here. It's very hot. What made you decide to start a YouTube channel? I actually started this in 2007, back when I started being an actor, just to make little skits and stuff like that, which were terrible and nobody liked them. Then I went on and I made podcasts, which were terrible and nobody liked them. Then I did gaming videos, which were terrible and nobody liked them. And then eventually in 2018, 2017, late 2017, I think, I started putting up audiobooks. And finally, I was making something that wasn't terrible and some people actually liked it. That was great. Good lesson there. Be ready to pivot. Don't rely on your first dream coming true, because it might not. Otherwise, I'd be earning hundreds of millions of dollars as a famous movie actor right now, which I'm not. I'm not. But I'm very happy with what I ended up doing. It's good. It's good. You'd be great at reading Christmas Carol. I will. That's Saki. Yes, it stays hot in the room. It does. Suddenly the sounds of vultures screeching reach his ears. Yes, yes, yes. Right. Oh gosh, I'm so hot. So I'm going to stop now, I think. Thank you very much for coming. I've enjoyed spending this time with you. You've made this recording session quite interesting and very hot. I'm going to go pass out now under a cold shower and drink another 2 liters of water. I hope I answered some of your questions and you found them moderately interesting. We'll do more of this sort of thing in future, and I'll do them on better days when you've got more time up your sleeve. And I'll try and convince the wife to do more gaming stuff. Nice talking to you again. Until next time, indeed. Have fun. Have a great day. We'll catch you soon. Okay? Bye-bye-bye.